Oh, sure.
Yeah, that mostly was what we were working on, and it was like every day was a new day.
Sure.
I felt like we had to start over every day.
Okay, so we'll start off reviewing that.
Okay.
Go to, what's your number right now?
I'm at 41.
There you go. Yeah,
It seems so jumpy today when I do it. I don't know what.
go ahead and go down to like 32. Yeah, so like with these thicker coated long haired breeds,
It's hard.
Sometimes it's like you're at 80 and nothing, and then all of a sudden connection.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why before going out, I always tell people get your levels done first, and then do your walk. Okay. There we go. Much better. It could also be the nerves.
Just because there's so much going on.
Yeah, like right here, like if you look at his face, he looks anxious, right? Now, I know in previous sessions we've seen him shake.
Yeah.
And that was in response to the collar and the discipline. But this isn't just a collar here.
No, it was like as soon as we got out of the car, I felt like he was anxious or jumpy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it could just be that noise.
All the noise and stuff.
Yeah.
So when it comes to that, and we were actually just talking about anxiety with dogs earlier, is people tend to dial back because they feel bad.
Yeah, yeah.
And you hold them to the same degree.
Yeah.
Because we obviously can't explain to him, like, hey, bud, that's just like a weed whacker.
Right.
You know, and that's just a truck unloading some, like, garden tool, right? His brain, for whatever reason, you know, well, not just for whatever reason, like, this is not meant to be here.
Yeah, right.
It's supposed to be trees and animals and stuff, right?
Yeah.
Mountains and all that crap. But he's got, like, machinery, cars, and all that moving around. That for a lot of dogs, it creates anxiety.
Yeah.
Because they don't recognize it.
And we just been in our neighborhood, mostly so quiet.
Yeah, and it's quiet. Yes, that's very. And a very common thing that I see is people that come from quiet, like suburb Michigan, and they move to South Loop, Chicago, and the dog is like all over the place.
Their mind, right?
Yeah,
I've heard that too.
And it's because of the change in environment.
Yeah.
So the discipline is actually what helps settle them down. The structure, okay? Being told what to do. Because the anxiety with dogs is more so like, what do I do? When I don't know what to do, right?
Yeah.
So that's where the structure comes into play. It's like, all right, bud, like you came, you walked up, you had him right here, you came to a stop, you had him sit right here, and then he got up 2 times, you corrected him both times, and he's keeping his butt down. That's actually what helps him suppress the anxiety, plus the remote, okay? And there's a video, we were just literally talking about this, that my mentor did about anxiety. And he posts a dog correcting another dog, and it's ugly. It's not pretty, right? And he's like, this is how dogs handle things.
Yeah.
You know?
They're rough.
Exactly. So the e-collar is essentially you kind of biting them in a way. And you're telling them, I disagree with that behavior.
Yeah.
And it can be applied to anxiety as well. Because everything is like throw a pill at it nowadays.
I know. They dogs so much.
Yeah. So what
I'm a therapist, so I'm like.
Oh, sure. And I'm not opposed to it.
I know, but
when it helps, it helps. But most of the time, like 99% of the time when they come in and a dog's medicated, it does not help.
Yeah.
Because they're a different animal.
Yeah.
You know, I know some people take medications for anxiety and it helps them.
Yeah.
But they are also aware of like how it affects them.
Yeah, they try to do things, different behaviors.
Yeah. So what we'll do today is we'll do a review of what you did the last week. We'll see how that's looking, okay? So we can pinpoint what's going on. And then we'll see how much time that takes. We'll probably work on the stay.
Okay.
Because for the recall, it's a 2-person exercise.
Oh, okay.
And I forgot to email you. I have another client that's doing recall, and I told him, like, hey, it's going to be a 2-person exercise. So no worries. It's not going to make an impact on how far you get along anyways.
Okay.
But go ahead and just start off by showing me what you were practicing with the turns and stuff, okay?
Okay. Okay. Heel.
Good.
did better today. I feel like at home, maybe some of my kids are around. Yeah, usually I'm having to like knee through him.
Let's maybe do a couple more pivots. That's the, to the
turn right,
right.
turn the
Yeah.
right.
Okay, one more.
Okay.
Good. Let's go with that. We'll settle for that.
I know, he doesn't do this at home, so I think it must be interesting.
So what are you struggling with the turns in your neighborhood?
Mostly when I turn left.
When you turn left?
Yeah,
Okay.
but I'm like having a
Okay. When you do that turn, is he pushing to the left, or do you feel him fanning out to the right?
He's like just continuing on, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
This is what I thought. Do you remember what to do before your turn and your stops?
To slow down?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Are you slowing down?
Maybe I'm not.
Yeah, because you weren't slowing down
Yeah,
here.
okay.
Now, the reason why these were more successful is because your pace was already slower.
Yeah,
Okay?
you're right. It's probably slower than when
Yeah.
I'm on a walk. Yeah.
So when it comes to the turns and the stops, and you're not the first person, you're not going to be the last person.
Yeah.
More often than not, everybody forgets to slow down first. Are you a fast walker?
Probably.
That too, right? Because I have another client. They actually just wrapped up the program last Sunday, and the lady is a super fast walker.
Mm-hmm.
And I told her, only when you walk your dog, I'm gonna have you walk slower, because the speed that you're walking,
It's too much.
it's really like it's gonna be, your dog's gonna get so stuck in that autopilot that even with the slowing down, he's gonna miss the chance.
Okay.
So for her, I told her, only when you walk them, walk slower.
Yeah.
When you're not walking them, I don't care. And it helped them out tremendously. So for you, what I would do is, one, when you do walk him, be aware of what your speed is.
Okay.
Just assess yourself.
Yeah.
Okay? And I get people that walk fast, and there's kind of like a range of speed where I would expect the dog to be able to catch their movements and slow down with them. In that one case, I had to have her just slow down completely because she was just super fast.
Yeah.
So I would do that, and also making sure that we slow down before the turns. Now, if you're walking slow as it is, you know, like the pace that you're doing right now is like a real casual, just speed, he's gonna catch it.
Okay.
Right?
But if I'm going for like a walk. Yeah.
Yes, right. The walks when you're actually just walking on your own terms, it looks very different.
Yeah.
The other thing was, is that the biggest deal? Because he was still getting it, is your pivot, you're rounding your step out.
Oh,
Okay?
yeah.
So for the about turns, you know, you're walking, slow down, you extend back on the right, and then pivot back. And then what you're doing is you're going like this.
Yeah.
And swinging out, right? So when you do the step, and I pause for a second and then go back like this, the dog will catch that. And when he's walking, you'll see him go like this and then complete the turn with you, as opposed to with the swing out. Okay? So that was the only thing. He still got it because your speed was slower.
Okay.
But I would imagine on a normal walk, right?
Might miss
And
it,
and I'm exaggerating this.
Yeah.
What it would really look like for me now is I would slow down and then just pivot back like that. It's real casual,
Yeah.
but I exaggerate it in the beginning just so that people kind of get used to that rocking back motion.
Yeah.
And it helps the dog out a lot. Okay. Whenever you're going to make a turn or a change, whether to a stop or to go the other way, even because people tend to get stuck on the intent. I'm gonna stop, right?
Yeah.
Then when they come to the stop, and if the dog keeps going, since they were just gonna stop, they usually just pull the dog back,
Yeah.
right? And then they'll just have the dog sit here. And I'll tell them, you always want to make sure, if your intention was to stop and the dog keeps going, you have to correct.
And go the other way.
And then turn again, if you have to go this way, to have the dog stop with you. So you're conditioning him to always go by you, right? Because if I come to a stop and he went like this, that tells me he wasn't paying attention.
Right.
Or I forgot to do my job, which of slowing down. Correct, right? The more kind of black and white you are with the making them always be here and following your every step is what makes this less and less over time. Okay? And all this stuff is normal.
Yeah.
Okay, in terms of your progress and stuff, all that is normal. So if you're catching that happen, because especially if you're just stopping at a red light, it's no big deal in terms of life.
Yeah.
But when it comes to his training, it is a big deal. Where I'll tell people, yeah, I know you're going to stop at the red light, but pivot and then pivot back to make the dog stop with you. Because the more you condition this, the easier it becomes for you over time. Otherwise, the stop and pulling back becomes a forever problem that you're having to work with. And then what can happen is that people get comfortable and they go, the dog's doing really well, that they start to get lenient, and then they start to train their dog, or untrain their dog, rather. Because you can do two things. You can train him to do what you want him to do, or you can train him to do what you don't want him to do, right? And that's typically the lack of reinforcement. Exactly, right? Because if he learns, like, hey, mom comes to a stop and I don't have to stop next to her and sit anymore, like she used to make me, what else can I get away with?
Right.
And it becomes more and more, right?
Pull my arm off again.
Exactly. That's why I tell everybody, these guys have a learning capacity of a 3 to 4 year old child, and you have to tell a 3 to 4 year old child what to do.
Right.
Humans age, and we grow to where, like, eventually that child's an 18, 21-year-old, whatever, becomes an adult, moves out, gets a job, and can support themselves. But a 3 to 4 year old would never be able to do that.
Take care of themselves. Yeah.
Same thing for the dog.
Yeah.
So that's why I always say, think about a 3 to 4 year old child, because people, they're hoping that the dog will get so well trained, which I'm not saying it's not possible, but for the average dog owner, most likely not going to happen, where they're not needing to have to tell the dog what to do. They're thinking the dog's going to be morally good and not chase that squirrel because it would upset mom, or not jump on that person because it would upset them that they got dirty, right? The dog's going to do what's fun. That's in their best interest, right? Which is nothing bad. And yes, they can learn to a degree not to do certain things, but it still requires the human to always be a step ahead and kind of assume. So like the client that just finished their program, they had a great 6 to 8 weeks. And then just before the last class, the dog ran off the porch and charged into the park, okay? Because their friend's dog was there.
Oh.
And I said, okay, so what happened was they were sitting on the porch, the dog was laying down, and had not moved an inch this whole time since it's learned that, okay? And then made that mistake.
Yeah.
And I told them, it's okay. It's like you still have a dog, but you have so much more control, but they missed a lot of things prior. Like they missed like the dog parking up and going like this,
right?
Because we hadn't gotten there yet. So now we covered that. So now that they don't see that in the future, but I tell them you have control, but don't get complacent. Don't get too comfortable because you still have an animal. The pro to all this was they had to max out the collar, and the dog came straight back.
Oh, okay.
So before the dog would take off and never come back. The lady, she said she actually would break down crying because the dog was so frustrated because he could never catch him. They'd be there for like 15, 30 minutes.
Oh, just like playing that game.
Trying to get him, and he would never come back. And she's like, she's like 127, Jesse, and he came running his ass back. And I said, yeah, there you go. So that was the pro. They learned the lesson, and they're like, you know what, you're right. Yeah, he is a dog at the end of the day.
Right.
We have a lot of control, but mistakes can still happen. Okay. So you always want to be a step ahead, and like even for like him, like I've seen great improvement from class 1 to now, which is class 3. There's a couple things that I see, like right now he's facing the opposite way and stuff, and I need to send you the email for the prong collar.
Yeah.
And that will help you with a lot of this stuff.
Because it's just like a smaller correction, or?
Yeah. So like here, because he should be facing the same way as you are.
Yeah.
I don't care if you're both facing this way, and he kind of does this, like that window.
Yeah.
But I really don't want like this, because like what's more important back there?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's one thing if he's constantly looking at you while facing this way, but another thing when this is getting involved. Okay. But not the biggest deal, but just something to be aware of. And in the neighborhood, how was it this week? Because I remember last week he was doing that a lot, but you said that in your neighborhood he doesn't do that.
Yeah, he doesn't. We went to a park, and I would say it was probably as crowded. It probably wasn't as crowded as this. No, he wouldn't do this. He wouldn't do this. I don't know. It's just, I don't have, I mean, I live in Portage Park. It's just not the same as Lincoln Park. It's not as crowded. So I guess I don't really have enough opportunities to come down here to kind of, it seems like when there's more going on, he will do that.
Sure. So when it comes to your training's only as good as the environment you practice in.
Yeah.
Right? Let's say, because I always think realistically, what does Bear's life look like? Yeah. And if your life is like, we go to Portage Park, and we never go to Oz Park, then I'm like, well, then it's not a big deal. However, if you go, well, yeah, we go to like Michigan where we're in the woods and there's deer and there's squirrels, and I go, then you want to, you know, take some time at least once a week to go outside where it's busier to practice. Because then if it's always quiet at Portage Park, when you bring them into busy, you know, forest, lake, whatever, Michigan or something, it's gonna be a lot harder, right? Not the biggest deal, because you know what your life with Bear looks like. That's why I always ask everybody, well, if you could have what you wanted, what would it look like? And I go, okay, this is what you need, and this is what you want to be mindful of. Okay? Questions about that? So, with the turns and stuff, I'm going to have you do your normal walking, your normal pace and stuff, and I'm going to have you go through your turns. We're going to make that one edit on the pivot to kind of do that rock back, real exaggerated like that. And then we'll go from there, okay? And you're really good about being consistent from what I'm seeing. Okay. Every time he gets up and you're remoting to correct him is perfect. Good. Okay, because a lot of people forget. Okay, so very good job on that. Whenever you're ready.
Okay, heel. Did it slow enough? Okay. I guess I feel like I'm walking so slow that it's almost slower.
Try walking at your normal pace.
Okay.
Yep. There you go. That was much better. Tap to bring forward. There you go. There he is.
Yeah.
Try for 3 more like that.
Okay.
Good.
That was a fainter.
Yep, perfect. Good turn. Good.
Slow down enough for that.
Give it back here, speed him up. There he goes. Good.
It's not going too far. We have our stop over here. Hey, time.
Yep. Good. And then try a couple more of the pivots.
Okay.
Your left turns are good.
Hey, time. Come on.
Good. good, right? So slowing down,
Yeah.
and then you're doing really good with the remoting, because that would be another thing that I would expect from a client, that they lay off the remote too much, that the dog isn't as attentive.
Yeah, my husband would be the one who's doing that, probably.
Oh, really?
Yes. He's much more reluctant to use it.
And how really? How's
But I do most of the walking right now,
Sure.
so yeah.
There you go. Good. Yeah, so I think that's probably the issue that you're having, is not slowing down and then tightening up on that pivot turn. Your left turn was good.
Okay, okay.
And then once you, how'd you say, you get comfortable, it won't be as awkward.
Okay,
Because
okay.
I can still see you like
I have to think about it, yeah.
thinking about it, right? Which is perfectly fine, because obviously you got to move in a certain way now.
Yeah,
You get used to it, and then it'll become even smoother.
yeah.
Okay. Because, you know, it went from him learning as you were learning to now he's for the most part learned
Okay.
the stuff, and now it's just you still processing and like, okay, this is how my movements work, and then it'll be even easier after that point.
Okay.
But otherwise, on your walk here, I saw when you're approaching the park and stuff, he was doing really well. I think there was a little bit when he kind of cut ahead of you, but I think you just like turned into him or something.
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
got him back. That was good.
Yeah, and I think that maybe had to do with some of that.
Oh yeah, and then you had that noise and all that stuff. So all that's really good. Okay. How's he been with like with dogs and stuff?
So he usually just like now, since we have the collar, he's like he'll cry and he wants to go play, but he knows I'm not gonna let him.
That one.
Yeah.
So let's say we have a dog passing by. Are you stepping aside?
It depends. So I guess what I'm doing is if that dog is trying to come at, like get to us,
Sure.
then we'll stop and use it and
Sure.
like more intense.
Sure.
But if the dog doesn't have any interest in my dog, then we just keep walking and I just make sure he's close to me. I mean, sometimes I have to tap him, sometimes I don't, but he always will do this, like he really wants to go play.
Sure.
Yeah.
What I would suggest is you tap those whines,
Okay, okay.
because that's like 1 on a scale of 10.
Yeah.
Right? And like if we miss that couple weeks or so,
Yeah.
that 1 jumps to 3, jumps
Okay.
to 5, jumps to like,
Okay.
oh, let me play, right? So you're just being real black and white.
Yeah.
What I would also suggest is like, I love the slack here,
Yeah.
right? So now we're going to talk about kind of realistically speaking, and going back, which ties into like the dog I mentioned earlier that took off,
Yeah.
is I see Bear and how you work with Bear, and I go, this is a really good setup, right? I see confidence, I see you got your tool, you're using it like you're supposed to, you got the control, right? Then I think realistically, if I see someone, if I had Bear, right, and I was holding him just like you are, and I saw someone coming, I would naturally just shorten my leash just in case now,
Yeah.
okay? And then letting it go when I don't need it anymore.
Okay.
So I'm planning for, in case Bear decides to be a dog, or this becomes too overwhelming and lunges, 1, he's not going to take me down with him,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Because the more slack he has,
Yeah.
the more leverage he has, right? And give a tap here. There we go. And then also, if that dog is pulling here, and if I shorten him, even if he moves forward, there shouldn't be any interaction, because that can end up bad. When you get a dog that's like this, being walked by their owner, and another dog jumps in, even to greet it, those energies can end up in a scuffle.
Yeah.
And then they're on the leash, and then ends up getting, becoming a worse situation than it needs to be, right? So I'll shorten it, or like when the people coming by, I saw you a little bit going like this.
Yeah.
So instead of going back,
Just make it closer.
I would just shorten
Okay.
your leash.
Okay.
His positioning was fine.
Yeah.
But the reason why we don't want to do this is because if you put tension on him, the pulling back actually tells Bear to lunge.
Okay.
Okay, so if you had it slack enough that there was nothing even
Pulling, yeah.
with you pulling, but if it was short and you did that, what happens is it puts tension on him, and it makes him want to do this.
Yeah.
So if something's walking by, much more inclined to do so.
Yeah.
So all I do is shorten it, and I stay relaxed. Your stance and your position is perfect, right?
Okay.
You're nice, relaxed, like this. What I don't want is this or this, because that will possibly create something.
Okay.
So then, like, I see kids running by, I shorten it. They're by, I let it go. Or I just keep it short while I'm standing aside.
Yeah.
Especially if you're having a conversation.
Yeah.
Because if you get distracted, the shorter you have it means the how do you say, you'll get quicker communication.
Yeah, if he does.
If he moves, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, because if I have it short and he even goes like this, he's putting his nose down, tap, tap, right? Because the leash is telling me everything.
Yeah.
Because if there's tension, which there shouldn't be, if he's next to you, then you know he's doing something he shouldn't.
Right.
Especially if you can't get visual of him, okay?
Right.
So, all the movements and stuff look good. Okay, questions? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna work on the stay.
Okay.
And it's actually better that we do this, because if we did that, the heel with the leash, when we get to stay, the dog is so used to coming back with the collar that it's really difficult to learn the stay concept. Okay?
Okay.
So it's actually better that we do it this way.
Okay.
So what we're gonna do, and I'll demonstrate for you, is you're gonna have bear and heel, right? You'll do a heel, you're gonna walk, and you'll come to a stop, and he's gonna auto sit, all right? What you're gonna do is you're gonna have to move your leash most likely to your right hand to free up your left hand, and you're gonna take your left hand and just kind of wave it over his face, and you're gonna say stay, and you're gonna pivot out in front of bear like this to face him, okay? So it's one movement. So if he's here, just swing it out really awkwardly to face him. If he moves, you would pull up and tap, get him to sit, wait, and you're simply gonna come back like this, heel, slow down, come to a stop, he sits, wait a second, excuse me, stay, pivot, he doesn't move, good, back, heel. Okay, so we're just trying to teach him the concept of not moving with you, because since you've been doing heel for the past 2 to 3 weeks, his inclination is going to be to follow you. So we're going to teach him today that that means something else, and to put his butt down.
Should I start with the leash over here?
Yeah, you want to make it a little bit easier? Yeah. There you go. And then when you step out in front of him, you would then bring in the left hand, so that this way, if he got up, it's very easy for you to raise up and stop him. Okay? Whenever you're ready.
Okay. Heel.
Right.
Stay. Oh, he's not sitting. I thought he was sitting.
Sorry, go ahead and pivot in. Give him a tap here. There you go. Now it's okay.
Just
now
do a walk again. And
no, you're good. You can just stay here.
Okay. Stay.
Good, just like that. Back to his side. Good boy. Heel.
Heel.
Yep. Good. Good, that's fine. Back to the side. Pray. Up tap to the, there you go, good job. Pray. And heel. How's the audio now? Good. Get back. Praise. Good. 2 more. Yeah, good. You got an off-leash dog right there, just heads up.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead and heel him a little bit further this way.
Heel.
Tap, good.
Seeing a lot of doggies, people.
Good. Yeah. Good.
You guys, do I need to turn it up or
Okay. And then here, you know,
you want me to keep walking or
No,
you?
go ahead, go ahead.
Okay.
He's training, so
Okay.
good practice.
Look here.
Yep.
Very good.
Yep. Yep, yep, yep. There we go. So we went, you're at 41 earlier, right? Did we get down to 32?
Yeah, we need to go up.
And you could probably, when we see another dog, I'll have you bump it since we know that didn't go well.
Yeah.
Right?
It was not.
And another thing that you can do is if you don't have the time to bump the number, is you can bump the speed. So instead of tap, like tap,
Okay, that's a good idea because sometimes it'll come quick.
Really
you know,
quick,
like
yeah.
you turn a corner and there's a dog all of a sudden. And
yes.
You know.
If you increase the frequency and like pop, 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 like real fast, it comes across as higher.
Yeah.
Because you're hitting the same spots. Exactly. But I wouldn't do the continuous. You always want to do the nick in bursts like that. Okay? Go ahead and do it. Work with the stay.
Stay.
Good. Up. Tap. 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 Keep it up. Tap. Yep. Up. Straight up. Tap. And relax. Good. You're distracted. Relax. There you go. And heel.
Heel.
Good. The kid just rolled straight up. Good. Good. There you go. Good job. We're going to try one more, okay? Very good. Go ahead and bring him back. And slow to stop. Very good. So what we're going to do now is make that a little bit harder.
Okay.
Okay. So you did all that correctly.
Okay.
So stay. You're going to pivot out with your right leg. Okay. And you're going to grab your leash higher up.
Okay.
And now you're going to start to walk around. Okay. Do one direction, clockwise, whatever.
Yeah.
And a walk around. Okay. And if bear stands up, what you're going to do is pull up, stop moving, and tap, kind of like what you did there.
Okay.
Until he completes it. Then relax, and then continue moving.
Okay.
When he gets up, stop, up, tap.
But don't keep saying stay.
Correct. There's no repeats.
Okay.
And I'll explain more about repetitions later, or repeating the word. So you cue it the one time, and then you just simply make it happen. Okay. So the reason why we want to stop moving, so it works as when he's not moving, you're moving. If he moves, you stop moving.
Okay.
You're going opposite to him. Is since you've done 2 to 3 weeks of the heel, if you keep moving, he's gonna think this.
Yeah.
So the stopping helps him kind of differentiate, like, okay, this isn't the heel, okay? And pulling up allows you to keep him in place. What you don't want to do is bob it, okay? Because that's just pull up, yeah. Up enough that he feels it, and ideally it contains him. Because what may happen in the beginning is he's going to try to move to you, because he's thinking remote means come to mom's hip, right? So I do this, and even if he moves a bit, I don't care about it. I just care about him putting his butt down, but I want to prevent him from actually getting to me, because if he gets to me, it kind of eliminates the whole concept of stay, because he's thinking, oh, I was supposed to come closer. Right. It may happen. If it does, it's not a big deal, but you're trying to keep it from happening as much as possible, okay? And then once you complete a full circle without him getting up, you would come to his side and then heel again.
Okay.
Okay? Questions?
No, I don't think so.
All right. Go for it.
Heel.
Good. Tap. 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 There you go. And then go to keep walking around.
Should I do again?
Yep. Tap. Tap. Up. And move away. Okay. And you're going to continue that circle. Try it again. Yep. That's okay. And then right there, pause. Good. Okay. That's one complete circle.
Okay.
So, one thing I forgot to mention is what we may see is swiveling.
Yeah.
Right?
Because he wants to like look at me. Yeah.
If he swivels, as long as the butt's on the ground, you can ignore it.
Okay.
What we want to definitely correct is always the butt coming up.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
The swiveling will fix itself. Once he learns, like, oh, okay,
She's coming back around.
she's coming back around, I'm good. Because he's trying to just keep focus, right?
Yeah.
Now, your corrections, there was one that was correct, and the other one I was like, oh, I think he's just swiveling, and then I was like, I forgot. But you worked them through it, and then you just continue with your motion. And right now we're making it easy. We're just doing one complete rotation,
Yeah.
and then it's okay, good, the next one. And we'll make it progressively harder. Okay? Try again.
Heel.
Good.
Okay.
Yep, up. Grab a little bit higher. There you go, like that. Now start to walk around. Up, tap, pause, tap. Yep, there you go. Now move around. Up, tap. Yep, move around. Good. And back to the side right there, that's fine. And heel.
Heel.
Good. 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 Tap. Good. Walk around. Perfect. Tap. Good. Good. Back to the side. Perfect. Heel.
Heel.
Do a couple more. It's getting easier though
Yeah.
for him to put that butt down.
Yeah, he gets it like after 2 tries. Stay.
Yep. Good. That's better. Good. Yep. Good. Yep. Try one more walk around.
Okay. Heel. Oh, I thought you wanted me to do one more walk around there.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Good.
Sorry.
You're fine. Good. Try one more. Good. Try one more walk around. Yeah, like that. Perfect. Excellent. And then bring them back.
Can I start from that and turning?
Yeah.
Probably was not
Pretty good.
confusing to
Yep.
him at all.
Good. Good. So, progressively better.
Yeah.
Okay. So, right now, what his brain's processing is there's another answer for remote.
Okay.
Because the past 2 weeks it's been coming to the hip or putting the butt down, right? But he's always been at your left.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing about remote collar in dogs is the way they perceive the collar or interpret it is contingent on what life looks like in the moment.
Okay.
So when you're walking with Bear, life looks very specific to him. You're here. Yeah, you're here, right? So this is your leg, you're walking. So if he lags, your leg is here now. That when you tap him, he's trying to get back to this picture.
You realize.
Yes. So then, like, if you come to a stop and he's standing, again, life looks different. Then when you tap him, life looks different. So he's associating what things look like when the pressure turns off.
Okay.
So here, when you do the stay and you pivot out in front of him, now life looks different. And he's learning, oh, when mom says this word, and if I get up, if I go back to this picture, it stops, okay? And same thing with the recall. When he's 30, 40 feet away and you tap the button, life looks different, that he knows that he's supposed to come back to you, or he learns to come back to you. So here, we're gonna progressively make this harder. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna do more rotations, and we're gonna add in going the opposite way.
Okay.
I would assume when you go the opposite way, he's probably gonna get up, okay? It happens a lot. So it puts you a step ahead, because then you're already there ready to stop him. But what I already saw him, when you would tap, even before the release would kick in, he was already putting his butt back down. So I can already see that he's associating to correct himself, which is really good, okay? So same thing, except more rotations, and then maybe after a couple, you can start going the opposite way.
Heel. Okay.
Good, and then the opposite way.
Okay. Should I turn this way?
That's okay. So what happens is, if you step out, right, and you do a rotation,
Yeah.
I think what ends up happening is you have to switch your leash, and then you go back the
Oh,
opposite way.
okay.
Yeah. So if you want to pivot out in front of them again,
Okay.
there you go. And then go ahead and do a normal rotation, and then I'll have you switch. So that's more like kind of fluid.
Alright, okay.
Yep. And then switch hands, and then the opposite way. There you go. Good. Try one more walk around. Yep. Good.
Thank you, Emery.
So many distractions.
Good. And then go ahead and get in position. There you go. And heel.
Heel.
That was good. He sat down real quick after that.
He
that
did,
tap.
yeah.
Good. 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 And the other way. Perfect. That's okay. Swivel. Yep. Yep. Go ahead and try one more. There you go. Good. Back to the side. We'll try for 3 more. Good. Good. That's okay. Good. Tap. Good. That's okay. Good. Excellent. 2 more.
Okay.
Good job. Yep, good job. Perfect. thought about it for a second. Good. Perfect. Good. Good.
Should I keep going this way or?
You can come back.
Heel.
That's really good. We'll move on to the next one.
Okay.
Perfect. Slow stop. Ready. Very good. Excellent. So a couple mistakes, but doing it's easier for him to self-correct now when he feels a remote.
Definitely.
And with this next one, we're gonna add in a little bit more distraction.
Okay.
So you're gonna do your walk around, and then you're actually gonna come in, and I'm gonna have you put in a lot of energy into Bear. Good boy.
Yeah.
Like a lot. Okay. And it's gonna ideally distract them, but then you're gonna go right back into the walk around. So the stay is in effect until you give a new command or he's released.
Okay.
Okay, so if you say stay, you walk around, you come back, and you pet him, and then you walk around again or step out, he should not move.
What if he gets up while you're doing the whole thing?
You tap. So what you would do is,
Okay.
as you're petting, he gets up, you stop, you tap, he corrects, you go back to petting.
Okay.
And you can actually use this with people as well.
Yeah, we are having a hard time with our neighbors and him like barking and jumping on the fence.
Okay.
And scaring them.
What you can do is, for that stuff, you can set up a Zoom, and you can set that up whenever.
Yeah.
And we'll cover
I probably will too.
the stuff that you're dealing with at home, because that's
Yeah.
going to be a lot of information, as opposed to like practice stuff.
I know, it's too hard to practice those situations.
Yeah, so I'm not too worried about it. So whenever you want, you can schedule that Zoom session, and
Okay.
anything in the home, like jumping on people, stuff like that, we can tackle those things.
Okay.
And because it's a lot of just FYI.
Okay.
'Cause you-
And should I have like the neighbors kind of be out and see if they can be part of it, or like, what are you thinking?
I don't think it's necessary.
Okay.
We can try it out because the concept is simple.
Okay.
Okay, that because the only thing I would, unless you have really good Wi-Fi, because I had another client try to do virtual outside and they kept getting disconnected.
Oh.
So that would be the only thing. But this stuff it's real simple. It's nothing obedience. It's nothing that like it's mechanical. Like this is very, step by step doing stuff.
Okay.
When it comes to jumping on people, jumping on the fence, it's very simple. Okay. But if needed, if we do that and it's not working, then we'll talk about setting it up.
Okay.
So the next thing is you're gonna do a stay. You're gonna walk around. You're gonna come in. You're gonna pet him.
Yeah.
He might, if he gets up, you just correct him,
Okay.
and then go back to petting. Finish that off. Then relax, and then walk around. But do not say stay,
Oh,
because
we
it's
just
still
want
in
to
effect.
maintain that.
Correct.
Okay.
All right. Questions?
I don't think so.
Whenever
so you
you're
do a
ready.
full walk around first after the stay, and then.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Heel. Okay.
Yep. Good job.
Good job, buddy. Good job, buddy.
And tap, and walk around like that. Very good. Yep. Keep moving, and then stop there. Good. Try that a few more times.
Heel.
Good job, Bear. Good job. Good job, buddy. Good job.
Okay, yeah, there you go. And I'll have you do an additional walk around for that one. Very good. Good. Any more? That's close. The bird. Is in the camera.
Good job, Bear.
Yeah. That's great. There you go.
Good job. Good job, Bear.
Good. Walk around. Better. Good. Good. Two more.
That's making me dizzy.
Yeah.
Stay.
Good. Good. Good job. That's okay.
Good job, buddy. Good job. Good job.
Very good.
Still.
Good. And last one. That's okay. On the really big swivel. It's okay.
He's gonna follow me all the way. Good job. Good job.
Good.
Good job, Bear.
Excellent. In back. Very good. Very good. For his auto sits, like on a regular day, how are they? Are they pretty good?
Pretty good. I would say, I almost feel like he's good at the beginning of a walk.
Sure.
And then it like wears off after a while. Almost like, I don't know, maybe he thinks I'm being lazy, and I'm not going to get him. I don't know.
Sure. It could be a couple of, number of things.
Yeah.
What I feel like he's got a good grasp on it.
Yeah.
And you can do one of two things. One would be you just, every time you walk them, you just keep to these standards, right? That at some point, they'll become consistent.
Yeah.
I'm not too worried about the speed of how he sits, as long as they start to see that action happen.
Oh, so yeah, because he sure does seem to do it slow.
Does he? Okay.
Yeah.
So, what to make it more consistent would be tapping on the slower ones,
Yeah.
because that can be a part of it. You can also, this isn't necessary, but if you wanted to add extra motivation, a little Ziploc with some treats,
Yeah.
and then every time he does it on his own, you feed him, but you don't feed him when you have to remote him.
Okay.
So he starts to differentiate.
Yeah.
And then you do that for a little bit, and then once you get it, then you just stop with the food.
Yeah.
You don't need to do it anymore. Otherwise, with you continuing to walk him and then reinforcing the sits every time he does it, or if it's not fast enough, you'll get it.
Okay.
It just might take a little longer.
Yeah.
When it comes to the stay, all that was really good. And there was one that when you stepped off and he got up as you were stepping off and you froze like that,
Yeah.
that was actually perfect.
Okay.
That's how it's supposed to be done.
Yeah.
I just don't expect my dog owners to do that. Yeah, but that is exactly how it's supposed to work. Okay. Is realistic applications would be like, let's say after he poops or something, you tap him into a sit, stay,
And you gotta go pick it up.
pick it up. Exactly.
Okay.
You come to a trash can, give him the stay, hold your leash, step away, throw it away,
Okay.
back to the side. Maybe you come across a red light. As you're waiting for the red light, stay, do a little practicing there.
Okay.
So those are like, whenever someone walks their dog, like almost everybody like does.
Yeah.
You know, the dog poops, they have to pick it up, and the dog's like over here.
To have them stay.
Yeah. So for me, stay kind of feels like the least, what's the word? Least useful command.
Okay.
For like, because like let's say you're gonna leave the house and you tell them to stay, you actually wouldn't say stay there, because stay means don't move, period. Right? So if you leave the house and tell him to stay, well, he's not going to stay in that position forever, right? He's going to get up, which then kind of goes against the concept of stay. That's like a wait or like, you know, a different type of command, because you're just not wanting the dog to run through the boundary of the door.
Right. Like if the delivery guy comes or something.
Correct.
Okay.
So when it comes to the word stay, when we do other commands like sit and down, the stay is implied. So if I say sit, it means sit, don't move. Same thing for the down, don't move, okay? The only time I say stay is when the dog's already in position. So here, when you're walking with Bear, and he comes to that sit, it's not a sit, it's a heel, because it's built into the command.
Right.
So if you move again, his inclination is to move.
Right.
So that's why we use the word stay.
So say don't move.
Don't move, correct, right? So let's say Bear is in the home, he's laying on the couch of his own accord, and you decide, I need you to not move. You wouldn't say down, it would be stay.
Yeah.
Stay in the position you're in.
Yeah.
It then becomes that command.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So here, when we use the word stay, like I wouldn't say sit, stay, or down, stay. They're each, it's implied, and I only use this when he's already in the position. Okay? So when he's moving with you, stay, do your walk around, all that stuff. You can even use this like with the kids.
Yeah.
If you want to like increase the distraction,
Yeah,
you know, step off a little bit just to make it a little bit more difficult. The kids come up, they pet them, and then walk away.
Yeah.
You know, you can use that to your advantage to kind of work them through those things. But otherwise, he did really well in terms of the progress.
Yeah.
Okay? Questions about any of that? I'm trying to think if there's anything else involved with that. If you find, let's say he's doing really well and he gets really fidgety, one day while you're working with him, it might be that you're too high on the collar.
Okay.
So when we do stationary stuff, you typically want to be lower, because if it's too high, it makes the dog very antsy.
Yeah,
so that,
because you're having to do it tonight.
exactly. So I go down lower to help kind of balance that out. When it comes to moving things, like the heel, if the dog's too slow, I can go higher, because it's going to make them move.
Yeah.
That's not a problem. Same thing for the recall. When we cover that, if the dog's slow with the recall, I can put more power to speed them up. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you see that happening, check your collar. If today you're like 32 or something.
Yeah, I'm pretty low. Well, no, now I'm at
37. Is if you see that happening, try going down like 10 levels, and then try it again, see how he does. If it fixes the problem, it's because you were too high, whatever reason in that context, okay? Otherwise, all this is really good.
Yeah.
He's learning as I would expect him to.
Okay.
And your handling skills and your movements and your understanding of the instructions is really good.
Yeah.
Okay?
Do you feel like the stuff at home that we want to work on, I mean, do you envision that we should just always have this collar on so we have opportunities to work on those things? So like, was it barking out the window? Yeah. So like, barking is like freaking out.
Yeah.
Right? Like barking with this little dog.
When we do the Zoom session, it's going to cover a lot of that stuff.
Okay.
And I'm going to give you another tool that you can use.
That's okay, go ahead.
Like, I'm going to give you another tool that you can use to correct them so that you're not solely dependent on the collar inside the home.
Okay.
Outside, I would expect to have it on, right?
Okay.
Because you have so much to compete
So
with.
even in our yard, whenever he's out?
If the behavior, like, technically, maybe,
Yeah.
but maybe not, okay? Because when I give you the other approach, it may work outside as well, but I would expect when you're outside the home, because you have so much to contend with, that the collar's on for the control. But in the house, you shouldn't have to be relying on it, because he spends most of the time in the house, so it's easier typically to address these things.
Okay.
Very rarely do I get a dog that's like, has to have the collar on all the time. So I don't think that's going to be a problem. So you can schedule that whenever. You don't have to wait a week or whatever.
Okay.
It can be in between classes, because it's just a Zoom session.
Okay.
And then we'll talk about all that stuff. I suggest making a list of anything that you're struggling with within the home.
Yeah.
Because that's not obedience related, it's behavior.
Okay.
And what makes it easy is that, like for me growing up, if I didn't do my homework, if I talked back to my mom, or didn't do my chores, I was spanked.
Yeah.
It was one consequence for a multitude of decisions. The same thing for dogs.
Yeah.
One consequence for a multitude of behaviors.
Yeah.
Barking at the window, jumping on the fence, barking at the neighbor. It's all the same. That's why I'm not worried about it. So it should be real easy to tackle.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Other questions?
No, I don't think so.
So next class, have your long line again.
And then have someone.
And
my daughter.
when your kids with
Yeah.
you. And then we'll cover the recall stuff. We still have 3 classes, which is more than enough to cover the recall.
Okay.
So I would envision the next 2 are going to be recall related, and the 6th one, if you're doing really well, you can pick whatever. Like if you want to learn sit or down, whatever. Typically, people use it as a recap, and of course, if you like what you've achieved and you want more, you can always get more classes.
Right.
Okay. But he's doing really good. You're doing really good as well.
Good.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome.
Let's get our leash buddy heel.